This video is about sharpening your images for printing purposes. As there are many ways to perform this, the one that I'm going to show you today is something that I got from Bruce Fraser, and it seems to work really well for my images, so hey, I trust them. The action that I'm going to be creating is going to place the end result in a specific folder inside the Documents folder. I'm going to name this specific folder Images for Print. And then every time I run this action and sharpen images, the end result will go inside that dedicated folder called Images for Print. The other thing that I'm going to make sure I do is I'm working in high resolution. So let's just go under here just to see high resolution. All right, there you go. And I'm also down here you can see I'm in the Adobe RGB color world. Most people have this set to document size. If you want to know the profile you're in, just check that. And you can go always back to there. Okay, so what I'm saying is that when I'm getting ready to press print, this is the full size image in a lossless file format known as TIFF. So if you need to have your images, if you're never going to print your own images and you always send things off to a lab, we know that those guys need to have JPEGs and the sRGB color space. We'll do that. I'll show you how to go about doing that. It's very simple. So let's just do this first. Let's create the action. First thing I need to do is come over to here, your Actions panel, and I need to create a new set. That new set is going to be called Post-Production. And then I'm going to come back over here and choose New Set, New Action. I'm going to call this one Sharpen for Print. It's going in the post-production folder. I'm not going to give it a function key, but I am going to assign it a color. I'm going to choose blue. You'll see what that is in reference to after we're done. I'm going to click record now, and everything that I do at this point will be recorded in the action named Sharpen for Print. The first thing we need to do is we need to duplicate the layer. I'm going to do my sharpening routine on this layer, and that way I can manipulate it even further than just running an action of just sharpening and doing something. Anyways, you'll see. So the first thing we do is filter, sharpen, unsharp mask. I want you to enter in the amount of 320. I want you to enter in a radius of 0.6. And then we can use the threshold value of 4. If you leave it at 0, no big deal. So now we go. So immediately what we need to do is go under the Edit menu and choose Fade Unsharp Mask. We need to reduce this to 70%, and we need to change the blend mode from normal to luminosity. This ensures that our sharpening is only happening to the black and white image that lives underneath all the color information. Don't forget, the black and white portion of this image is what gives the image depth and dimension. There we go. So now that we have that going on there, the second step is to come down and go to Other, Filter, Other, High Pass. By default, you may see something like this. I want you guys to change that to 1.2. 1.2 works out really well. What this high pass filter does is it converts the majority of your image to 50% gray. Where you see the outlines in your gray image that's on your screen at this point in time is where Photoshop has determined these are edges. And Photoshop is now going to create sharpening effect at those edges by lightening one side of that edge and darkening the other side of the edge. Where we see 50% gray, nothing is going to happen. But where we see stuff that's lighter than 50% gray, then the resulting image will show those pixels as being lighter. Opposite for the darkening side, where you see dark stuff here, that will darken in the resulting image. Let's just click this. There we go. I'm going to come over here to where our blend modes are for our layer, and I'm going to click on this and choose overlay. I could use soft light, but overlay is the one that we use. And here we go. We've got this, and you can click on the eyeball on and off. You can see that the sharpening effect is there. I can tell you right now that it is definitely too much, so I'm going to hit the opacity to 50%. And then if I did a Command 1 to zoom in and come over here just to see, I'm going to turn this on. There's off and there's on, just to compensate for the sharpening, or the printing, sorry. This is to compensate for printing. Before we go any further, I want to add something in that we didn't talk about in class, and that is when we're sharpening our images, we're increasing our contrast. And the last thing you want to do is in that increase in contrast, you don't want to you don't want to increase the contrast in your extreme highlight areas, and you don't want to increase the contrast in your extreme shadow areas. We need to limit the sharpening effect that's going on here to anything but the extreme ends. So to do that, we double click to the right of the layer name to bring up our layer style dialog box. We're in the blend options category, and it's this blend if section down here that I want to deal with. There are two gradients. There's this layer and underlying layer, this layer, underlying layer. So what I'm going to be doing here is I'm going to tell this layer, the one with the sharpening, to not be anywhere. And say, let's just choose 16. And then if I hold down the Option key, I can split that triangle. And I'm thinking that I might want to go, let's see, where do I want this to transition to? 32 is not enough. 46, 48. What do we got? 16, 32, 48. So yeah, that works. And then the next thing is I'm going to take this guy down to 250, and I'm going to hold down the Option key, and I'm going to scoot this back down to, say, 236 or something. I don't know. 225. Something like that. Now, I may have different numbers in the sheet that I gave you, but it's going to be somewhere around that. What's going on here now? Let me explain to you that this whole gradient is on this layer, which has all that sharpening going on. What we've done is we've moved the shadow slider to the right, and we're saying do not sharpen anything in here, this area here, and we're saying do not sharpen anything up here. Have full board sharpening from here to here, and then in here is a transition, and so is this. It's just a gradual fade in, fade out kind of a scenario. All right. So now we're just going to click OK, and then what I'm going to do is I'm going to make a merge composite of this. So to do that, we go Layer, hold down the Option or Alt key and choose Merge Visible. And now that we have that, I can choose Flatten. And now I'm going to save as. Remember, I'm going to save it as a TIFF in a dedicated folder. So let's go back to here, and I'm going to go into Documents, and there is my dedicated folder, Images for Print. I'm going to change the file format to TIFF, and I have the embed color profile there. I'm going to choose Save. I'm going to have a resulting dialog box, For image compression, by default, it's on none. I'm going to choose LZW. This is a lossless compression. No image loss in quality whatsoever. Click OK to do that, and then I'm just going to go File, Close. Perfect. Absolutely awesome. Stunning in every way. Now what we do is we stop recording. And now, anytime I want to sharpen an image and get it ready for going to be printed, then all I have to do is come into my post-production folder, click on the Sharpen for Print action, and then click on the Play action button. But I told you I wanted to show you all about that blue color I applied there. So I'm just going to come over to the contextual menu here and choose button mode. And now if I scroll down to the bottom, you can see the action that's called Sharpen for Print has a blue color associated to it. So now with this image open here, all I have to do is click that button once rather than click the action and then click the play the action. We just click that thing and go once. All right, awesome is as awesome does. Now, if I go back over to my images for print folder, you can see I have these two in the TIFF file format. Awesome. Hope you enjoyed.